You're listening to Path to Self, Becoming Our True Selves with Mark Lighton. Reflections on soul work, spiritual return, and the slow unfolding of becoming.
Welcome to Path to Self, Becoming Our True Selves. This time, I want to talk about something that's been really helping me lately. Something simple, but surprisingly powerful, the sacred pause. The idea first really landed for me while writing a blog post, but it's been part of ancient wisdom for a long time. I honestly can't recall where I first learned about it. Taoist teachings, for instance, hold this idea at their core. Lately though, especially with everything going on at work, it's become something I've leaned on more and more. If you've ever found yourself stuck in go, go, go mode, feeling like you're reacting instead of choosing, this episode might speak to you. It's not about doing more, it's about stopping, just for a moment, and letting yourself be. Let's be honest, our world doesn't exactly encourage stillness. We're expected to be on all the time. Emails, errands, group chats, scrolling. We can forget what it feels like to just pause. But the sacred pause is exactly that, a pause, a breath. A moment where you consciously step off the treadmill and check in with yourself. Taoist tradition speaks to this beautifully. In the Tao Te Ching, chapter 16 says, "Empty yourself of everything. Let the mind rest at peace. The 10,000 things rise and fall while the self watches their return. Returning to the source is stillness, which is the way of nature." That line, returning to the source, really resonates with me. Stillness isn't about escaping, it's about coming home. Chapter 26 adds, "The heavy is the root of the light, the still is the master of the breathless." Stillness as grounding, stillness as mastery. That feels true, doesn't it? So what does this look like in real life? Taking one breath before replying to a snippy email, letting a moment of silence sit before you speak in a meeting, sitting at the end of your day and just letting it all settle. Those don't sound big, but they matter. They create space, and in that space, we often find clarity, or at least a little more room to breathe. But beyond the micro pauses, there is another kind of pause I want to speak to, something deeper, something sacred. This is the intentional pause. A stillness you choose, a moment or even a stretch of time where you allow yourself to drop beneath the surface noise of daily life, where you sit in silence and simply breathe. You notice the thoughts that come, but you don't follow them. Let them pass like clouds drifting through a wide sky. And in that space, that clearing in the mind's weather, something else begins to stir. This is where we hear, at last, the still, small voice that belongs to our authentic self, the one we touched on the last episode. It's not loud, it doesn't shout, but it's always there, waiting to be heard beneath the noise. This is where the sacred pause becomes more than a breath, it becomes a doorway. One tool I find helpful here is the simple practice of mindful breathing with gentle labeling. As you sit quietly, just breathe in and out naturally. When thoughts arise, label them gently, thinking, and then return to the breath. Over and over, no judgment, just the practice of returning. This helps train the mind to not cling and creates that open space for deeper knowledge. If you're in a safe place, not driving or operating machinery, I'd like to offer a short guided moment of stillness, just a gentle entry point into the sacred pause. Find a comfortable seat, let your eyes close if that feels okay, and begin to notice your breath. Breathe in and out. With each inhale, quietly say to yourself, "I am safe." With each exhale, I let go. I am safe. I let go. If thoughts arise, that's perfectly fine. Just name them, thinking, and gently return to your breath. You don't need to chase calm. You don't need to empty your mind. Just allow yourself this space and trust that your breath knows the way. Sit in this space as long as you like. Feel free to pause the podcast and remain here for as long as you choose. No rush, no pressure. And when you're ready, come back. Open your eyes, stretch if you need to, and carry the softness of this moment with you. As the Zen saying goes, a muddy puddle becomes clear if left alone. That image softens us into the next truth. Stillness can be uncomfortable. I think we all know that. We're taught that if we're not producing, we're falling behind. And if we slow down, we might have to feel things we've been avoiding. Anxiety, grief, fear. I've noticed this in myself. When I stop, old stuff can bubble up. Many of us keep constant noise around us, consciously or unconsciously, to keep the mind occupied. Music, podcasts, scrolling, background TV, it's a way to stay in motion, to avoid the discomfort that can arise when we are truly still. But silence, uncomfortable as it can be, is where those deeper truths live. It's where the healing begins. And yet, even knowing this, we often resist it. There's a tug of war between the comfort of distraction and the quiet power of presence. That tension is real, but so is the freedom that lies on the other side of it. But the thing is, if I don't stop, I burn out. If I do stop, I might feel a little uncomfortable, but I also get a chance to hear myself again. That trade-off has been worth it. For me, work has been intense, and sometimes it really is crisis mode intense. The kind that can lead to an autistic meltdown or shutdown. When the workload overwhelms me and everything feels like too much, my nervous system can go into panic mode. I lose my ability to filter, to pace myself, to communicate clearly, and that's when the need for a pause isn't just helpful, it's critical. There's been a lot to juggle, and I can feel myself getting caught up in urgency. So I started inserting tiny pauses into my day. Nothing fancy. A single breath before I start the next task, a pause before I say yes to something, a moment in the car during lunch when I don't do anything, I just sit. At first, it felt weird, like I was being lazy or wasting time, but over time, it started to feel like sanity, like choosing to be human in a system that treats us like machines. Sometimes the pause helps me notice tension in my body. Sometimes it gives me a flash of insight, and sometimes it just gives me a second to remember that I exist. It's not just about work though. I hate driving. The autistic side of me needs everything planned, and traffic is full of surprises that fuel my anxiety and rage. Throughout the commute, even a single intentional breath, taken whenever another driver makes a move that feels dangerous, can prevent the entire drive from becoming one long white-knuckle stress-induced rant and help me arrive calmer. At home, in relationships, and in social spaces, the sacred pause has been just as vital. I've learned that taking a breath before responding in a tough conversation can completely shift the energy. A pause before reacting to a loved one's comment can help me meet them with more presence, instead of defensiveness. Even stepping out of a crowded space for a moment of quiet helps me reset. The pause doesn't always look spiritual. Sometimes it's closing my eyes for 10 seconds while someone else is talking. Sometimes it's grounding myself in silence before answering the phone. But it's made a difference, not just in how I navigate the world, but in how I show up for the people I care about. The more I practice this, the more I notice how much power there is in something so small. I don't react as fast, and sometimes that means I respond better. I hear my own thoughts more clearly. I'm a little more kind with myself and with others. And I remember that I always have the option to choose, even if it's just how I breathe. One breath really can change a moment. That's not just poetic, it's something I felt. Here are a few things that have worked for me. Micropauses. One breath before responding, before saying yes, before reacting. Stillness time. I take 5 minutes in the morning to just sit in silence, no agenda. breath work. Sometimes I use the 4-7 breathing pattern to shift gears when I'm overwhelmed. Journaling. After a pause, I'll jot down what came up. Sometimes it's deep, sometimes it's I'm tired. Either way, it's real. This isn't about being perfect. It's about remembering you have access to presence, even in the middle of a busy day. And while we focus mostly on everyday pauses, in work, relationships, and stress, I'm also drawn to the deeper or more mystical dimension of stillness. Maybe in a future episode, we'll explore that sacred silence, the kind that opens the door to the unseen, the ineffable, the deeply spiritual. There's a whole world inside the quiet waiting to be heard. The sacred pause doesn't solve everything, but it does change how you meet what's happening. So maybe today, try this. Before you respond, pause. Before you agree, pause. Before you forget yourself, pause. Just one breath, just one moment to remember you're here. Next time, while I'm not entirely sure yet, I haven't chosen a topic for episode 4, and honestly, I kind of love that. This podcast is as much about unfolding in the moment as it is about planning ahead, so we'll see what rises to the surface next, and trust that the right theme will call us when it's time. If you'd like to read the original Sacred Pause post, you can find it at littlewiseguy.com. If you'd like to support this podcast, I've also set up a Patreon. You can find that at Path to Self on Patreon. No pressure, just presence. Just search for Path to Self. Or, if you want a handy place to get all the links, including to other places you can listen to this podcast, go to my website, markleighton.com. Thanks for spending this time with me. Until next time, breathe deep, stay curious, and walk gently.
This has been Path to Self. If something stirred in you today, you're not alone. You can find more reflections and resources at littlewiseguy.com. Until next time, be gentle, be real, and stay curious.